An interesting article today from Arrowhead Pride about the re-signability and potential numbers for a Trey Smith extension, a new deal for Trey Smith. And I thought we should take a look at some of the opinion in that article, followed by a rundown of the options the Chiefs have at the right guard position. And then we're going to look at the numbers for the offensive line in general, because what Brett Veach has stated on at least one occasion, though I couldn't dig it up, he thinks about the salary cap as if there were certain buckets for different positions. So, for example, had the Chiefs re-signed Tyreek Hill and given him a whole lot of money, that would have been fine. But the rest of their wide receivers would have been on rookie contracts until Tyreek Hill retired. So that is, I think, kind of what it is that he's talking about when he talks about divvying up the salary cap into specific buckets for position groups. Luckily, the offensive line is not a position, it's about half of your offense. So you can have more than one well-paid player along the line. Can you have more than one market resetting player? I think there is quite a bit left to be said for that, but when we look at the construction of the Chiefs' current offensive line roster, we will see that if anyone can do it that way, it might be the Kansas City Chiefs. The problem rises where will you be if someone gets hurt, etc. In an article titled Trey Smith Contract Projection, Chiefs Will Likely Reset the NFL's Guard Market. Subtitled, The Top of the NFL's Guard Market is Going to Shift When Trey Smith Signs His New Deal, from Arrowhead Pride by Rohan Chakravarthy, we get the following. Kansas City Chiefs guard Trey Smith became the NFL's highest-paid guard in an unorthodox fashion this offseason when he received the franchise tag, earning him a one-year $23.4 million deal. The tag is expected to be a placeholder for Smith, who has until July 15th to reach a long-term extension with the Kansas City Chiefs. That timeline is coming sooner and sooner, but many still expect the extension to get done. I don't know if I do. Kansas City essentially elected to commit to the Pro Bowl guard this offseason, trading veteran Joe Thuney to the Chicago Bears as they faced a cap crunch. And an extension makes sense for both sides, as the Chiefs would likely lower Smith's cap hit drastically from the $23.4 million figure it currently stands at. I don't know if they want to do it that way, because that would backload the roster, as we're going to see. The actual average per season would go up, but the backloading that number that way makes a very combustible situation along the offensive line in the future. Now, a new deal for the guard isn't expected to be cheap, especially after the franchise tag was placed by the Chiefs. So, what could an extension look like for Smith? Baseline numbers for a Trey Smith contract. Smith is expected to come near or at the top of the guard market on his next contract, which the Chiefs made apparent by feeling comfortable enough to tag him with a $23.4 million salary cap. Just so I don't think this article goes into it, but the reason why that number is so big, despite the fact that he is an offensive guard, so the theory behind the salary, the theory behind tagging someone is that what happens is that player doesn't get a whole new contract, but the team is going to pay them the average of the top 5 players at that position, the top 5 paid players at that position, regardless of skill, by the way. So someone signs a bad deal, all of a sudden that goes into the pool as well. But on offensive line, he's not being paid for an offensive guard. He's being paid as an offensive lineman. Normally, they are tackles that get the franchise tag from a team, not a guard. Currently, the top salary for guards is held by Landon Dickerson, who signed a 4-year, $84 million deal last offseason. The top overall compensation is Chris Lindstrom's 5-year, $102 million deal with the Atlanta Falcons, while the top guaranteed money figure is $60 million on Quentin Nelson's 4-year, $80 million deal with the Indianapolis Colts. These are all large numbers to keep in mind these are all numbers. Pardon me, I don't know where I put large from. To keep in mind for Smith, who is only entering his age 26 season. This, as we look through the roster for the Chiefs, will stand out. That number 26, he is 26 years old, meaning he's been doing this since he was, 22? Skipping forward in the article, we get this conclusion. So I think the barrier will also be broken by Smith in a precedent-setting deal over the next 2 weeks. The guard should get his first 2 years plus a signing bonus handed at signing. But it seems both sides want to be in Kansas City for the long haul. And this projection represents that projection. 4 years, which will get him to his age 30 season. $86 million, $60.25 million guaranteed. So I wanted to look at who is Trey Smith. We know him on the football field. It's easy to forget the actual athlete that Trey Smith is. 6'5.5", 321 pounds, 33 5/8 inch arms with 9 3/4 inch hands. Ran a very impressive 5'1", 140-yard dash when you're talking about a 321-pound man. The 3-cone drill at 7.43, if memory serves me correctly with the values that go on offensive guards, is pretty good. 31-inch vertical leap, nothing to write home about. 9'4" broad jump, a decent number. 32 reps at the bench press, a good number there for Trey Smith. But just last season, the Kansas City Chiefs double-dipped at the offensive guard position in the draft. Is this in preparation for Trey Smith moving on? Well, that double dip included one offensive lineman that was very, very reminiscent of Joe Thuney physically, and another offensive lineman that, you know what, is kind of like Creed Humphrey and Trey Smith had a baby when you're looking at his physical presence and what it is that he does on the field. So that offensive lineman is Hunter Nourzad, 6'3" 1/8 inches, 317 pounds, 33 1/8 inch arms, 10 3/4 inch hands, and then did 27 reps on the bench press. Hunter Nourzad is listed as a center guard prospect by most places, and that makes a lot of sense. He is sort of a tweener athletically, and if you've got a guy with 10 3/4 inch hands who can spike the ball, who can hike the ball, you probably give him a chance, right? That is an added security at that position. But he is a very sound, very solid offensive lineman. He is not, as Trey Smith is, an absolute enforcer. Still, the Chiefs made 2 selections in that draft at offensive guard. They were prepared to lose one of those offensive guards. Now, they've already traded away Joe Thuney, who was one of those offensive guards. The strategy behind it may have just been best player available. May have been. But you don't take best player available without meaning to use them at some point. The other guard from that draft was C.J. Hansen, who is, in my opinion, on the field, Joe Thuney-esque as far as the skill set is involved. I'm not saying that he is an all-pro, but the skill set involved is very reminiscent of Joe Thuney. He's also someone that I still believe is going to get a chance to fail his way out of offensive tackle. 6'5", 300 pounds, 32 3/8 inch arms, so below that 33 mark. That's the same problem Thuney had. 9 3/8 inch hands, a 5-second flat 40-yard dash, a 33.5 inch vert, a 9'7" inch broad jump, and 25 reps on the bench press. C.J. Hansen is an athlete at the offensive line positions. He is not just a big guy playing the sport. So Hunter Nourzad looks a lot more like a wrestler. CJ Hansen looks like a thrower from track and field. So when we dig down a little bit further on the roster, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15 offensive linemen on roster for the Kansas City Chiefs. That is a very big number when you have 91. Normally you would have 90, but the Chiefs do have a foreign exchange student, which allows them to carry that 91st slot. Now, looking at it, referenced earlier that Brett Veach likes to think of positional groups as their own bucket as far as the salary cap is concerned. Well, here you have 3 UDFAs at the top of this tackle listing: Ezapole, Dalton Cooper, and Ethan Driscoll. You go those next 3 spots, and they were all draft picks. Only one of them a first rounder. You have a second rounder in Kingsley Suamataia, a third. Was Wanya Moore's third or fourth round? I can't remember right now, but not a first or second rounder in Wanya Morris and Josh Simmons, all on pretty reasonable deals right now. Then you have Jalen Moore, who was signed as a free agent, but really kind of on a decent deal. You've got him for $11 million, so nothing terrible this season. Then you get to Jawan Taylor, Jawan Laundry Taylor, $27.39 million, and he just collects flags. This is the player, in my opinion, that is in trouble this training camp. You go further, so both of these, Jalen Moore and Jawan Taylor, both of these players were brought in as free agents. You can see how inflated the tackle class was just a couple of years ago when Jawan Taylor signed versus Jalen Moore. Then you have the trio listed at guard of Mike Caliendo, CJ Hansen, and Trey Smith. 2 of these players were, one was a 7th rounder in CJ Hansen, one was a UDFA in Mike Caliendo, and then you have Trey Smith at $23.4 million. Then you have the center group, Joey Lombard, the brand new shiny Joey Lombard. They list Hunter Nourzad at center here, and then Creed Humphrey making a cool 10.7. Then you have Chukwuebuka Godric, $840,000. That is the foreign exchange student here on the line for the Kansas City Chiefs. So, if the long-term play is to have Trey Smith on the line, the top paid guard in the NFL, which will really only last one season, and then you have one of the highest paid centers in the NFL, that means you're probably going to have to go fairly discount at your tackle positions. You're probably going to have to go fairly discount at your left guard position. You have seen the Chiefs bring in 2 free agents, but they've done so because it's so hard to draft offensive tackles where it is that the Chiefs get to make their selections. Joshua Simmons fell because of injury, so he might be. So basically what I'm saying here is that for the Chiefs to retain Trey Smith, something has to work out at the left tackle position that does not involve a free agent. Should they continue to have to sign players at the left tackle position, they will not be able to pay Trey Smith and Creed Humphrey top of the market numbers. So anything that happens at left tackle in a cheap fashion, whether that be the reemergence of Kingsley Suamataia, whether that be Wanya Morris taking the bull by the horns, whether that be Josh Simmons reaching up and grabbing the starting spot for himself, whether that be Ezapole, Dalton Cooper, or Ethan Driscoll making a name for themselves and becoming the starting left tackle, that's what has to happen especially as long as Jawan Taylor is getting paid very, very prettily on this roster, in order for the Chiefs to be able to retain their top paid center and right guard. So just a little bit of musical chairs might be played at some point in the not-too-distant future for the Kansas City Chiefs along that offensive line. That is all I have for this video. If you like or appreciate what it is that I do here, hitting the like button really does help me out, as it tells YouTube to share this video with other Kansas City Chiefs fans. If you find yourself here by chance but not design, the Chiefs are the only thing I talk about on this channel, dropping multiple videos every single week. And as always, I hope to have you back for the next one.